In this episode you'll learn how to make your images go from looking like this to this. And all it changed was the lighting. Lighting is the #1 factor that separates professionals from beginners. Even if you're wealthy and you can afford a $200,000 cinema camera setup, if you don't know how to light your scenes, your footage will look like shit. Instead, you can make your smartphone footage look pro. That is, if you know how to light up your subject properly, even using cheap lights or any light you already have. I divided this video into 4 parts. Stick around until the end to a bonus section where I'll give you 7 game-changing tips to make your production stand out. Let's get into it. Direction of lighting. If you're not entirely new to filmmaking, you must have heard of the fundamental of lighting a subject, the 3 lights setup. It consists of the key light, the backlight, and the fill light. Depending on where you position your lights, the shadows will allow you to form different shapes or patterns in your subject. Usually, the key light is placed slightly above your subject at 45 degrees from the camera to create depth by dropping shadows on the face and make your image more three-dimensional and dramatic. Not all shadows are good, however. If you place the key light too high, you get this raccoon eyes effect that you'd get if you shoot outdoors when the sun is high. Let's move the key light to different position and see how the light direction creates different moods in the scene. If we move our key light in front of our subject, we'll remove all shadows from the face. This is usually done for commercials, music videos, and beauty shots. Removing all shadows will also eliminate depth and dimension from our images, which isn't optimal if you want an emotional or cinematic look. Slightly turn the light up from this position and get the Paramount or butterfly lighting. It's called Paramount because Paramount Pictures widely used it on their female actresses, and butterfly because it creates a butterfly-like shadow under the character's nose. This lighting pattern is considered to be typically feminine for its characteristic of accentuating the shadows on the cheekbone, creating depth to the face. Turn the light slightly to the side to create loop lighting, as it creates this shadow on the nose with the shape of a loop. This lighting pattern is typically used on rounded faces because the shadow it creates makes the face look slimmer and longer. If you place the light above your character's head, you get the top light. You may use the top light to create mystery and oppression, as it removes the ability to look someone in the eyes. The audience won't be able to connect with the actors and know if they can trust them. The top light is also used to communicate depression. Look at this scene, where I'm having a conversation with the actress. The scene is well lit, and you can tell we're having a good time. If we wanted to communicate sadness and depression, we could have used just one top light over our heads. Move the light about 45 degrees from the camera to the side to get Rembrandt Lighting, named after the Dutch painter that used this pattern in most of his paintings. The Rembrandt Lighting creates a triangle of light on the subject's cheek. It is the most popular lighting pattern used in Hollywood films because it creates depth on the subject's face and provides a dramatic look to our images. If you move your light 90 degrees to the side of your actor, you will see that the entire half of the face becomes a shadow. This is called split lighting because it divides the face into 2 parts. While the Paramount lighting pattern is more feminine, the split light is more masculine, giving the face a tougher look. Feel. Sometimes the split light is used to create a sense of unease and uncertainty when you are unsure about that person, or the character has to make a decision that could be either bad or good. As you can see, moving our key light can drastically change the mood and feel of our images. The backlight. Let's take a look at the second of the 3 light setup. The backlight if it's positioned on the back, hair light if it's above the subject's head, or rim light if it's more to the side. Its purpose is to separate the subject from the background and create depth by outlining the subject with a halo or rim around it. The backlight replicates what the sun does at golden hour. It outlines the subject's back by creating this halo effect. I used this cheap Godox ML30 bicolor light. light, because you can change the temperature to simulate the sun's warm glow. But you could also use a window or practical lights like a lamp or anything you can think of to light up the back of your subject. The fill light. The third light of the 3-light setup is the fill light. It is usually positioned on the other side of the key light. The idea is to make the shadows less dramatic by filling in some light. Depending on your goal, use the fill light to make your image less contrasting. When I make my YouTube videos, I use a little fill light, just enough to keep some shadows on my face, but still allow the audience to see both of my eyes. Instead, if I'm shooting a short film, I generally don't have a fill light on my actors, as I love the dramatic look typical to many Hollywood productions. The fill light can be a practical light or a bounce light. Bounce lights are effective and cheap. They are used to reflect and bounce the light coming from the key light to the dark side of your subject. You can get one of these diffusers from Amazon for really cheap. I suggest you get both a small one and a bigger one. You can use the dark side of your diffuser to fill some negative light, thus accentuating the contrast with more shadows in a situation with too much light, such as outdoors. Side note: you can use a bounce light instead of a key light that is too powerful, to soften things up and make the image look more natural. All you have to do is point the key light to your bounce board that you can rotate to direct the light to the liked position. Be aware that a bigger bounce board will create a softer light. On this topic, let's move forward to the next section: quantity and quality of it. The light source size and the distance from the subjects significantly affect the light's quality. A small light source produces a hard light. A big light source produces a soft light. The bigger, the softer. A close light source produces a softer light. The closer, the softer. The sun produces a hard light, even though it is a huge light source. And why is that, I hear you asking? It is because of its distance. The longer the length, the harder the light will be. Even though the sun is enormous, when we look at it, we see a tiny dot in the sky. Therefore, it produces a hard light. Instead, the light is much softer when it's cloudy, because the clouds act as a diffuser. Okay, but which one should you use? Let's find out. We're lighting our singer with a small light. Notice how the shadows on the microphone are neat and well defined. You can see these shadows cast on her dress and face. Let's now switch to a bigger source of light. You'll see how those hard shadows have disappeared. The overall effect is more natural, pleasant and attractive. This does not mean that soft lights are better than hard lights. There may be occasions when you need those hard shadows. Let's take a look at this hefty thug, for instance. Have a look at how a hard light helps show his muscular prominence. A soft light wouldn't have the same effect on his perfect body. Let's sum it up like this. Usually you want a soft light to light up your subjects and hard light to show definition. The key light is better soft. The rim light is better hard. Temperature and color. Color temperature in filmmaking is like comparing natural light colors during a sunset and a sunrise. Imagine you're outside during a beautiful sunset. The sun is going down and the light it gives off has a warm, reddish-orange glow. That's like warm color temperature in filmmaking. It creates a cozy and pleasant feeling, like how you might feel at the end of a fun day. Now, picture yourself at a gorgeous sunrise. The sun is rising, and the light it casts has a cool bluish tone. That's similar to cool color temperature in filmmaking. It can make you feel refreshed and energetic, like the start of a new day. You will find in the description a PDF file with this lesson's information, including a reference sheet with the common color temperature scale. Why do you need this? Look at this scene from my film The Unforgiven. The only motivating light in this scene is the candlelight. Of course, that candle alone wouldn't have been enough to light up my face. I had to add the light source and set it to match the candlelight color temperature to make the scene look natural. You will also see a blue light coming from outside. bringing us to color contrast. This common technique makes the image more compelling by creating depth with color contrast. Take a look at the color wheel diagram. As you'll notice, blue and teal are the opposite of orange, the candlelight color. Look for opportunities to create contrast in your picture by lighting your background with the color wheel opposite color of your subject. But don't exaggerate with RGB color sources. I see amateur filmmakers often adding random colors to their shooting that are unnatural. Only use colors if the scene requires it. Like in this memory from The Unforgiven. The Great Reaper brought me into a surrealistic dimension and forced me to share a painful memory. I wanted the audience to feel like it was in hell, which justifies the red color. Let's end this color section with color bouncing. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. Let's light up a candle to motivate the light in this scene. As discussed, we need a light source matching the candlelight color to light up our subject. Okay, but what if we don't have one? In that case, we could use a red t-shirt like this one. The key light will bounce on the shirt and cast a reddish tone on our subject's face. There you go. You don't even have to buy a RGB light now. Be aware of color bouncing in your environment whenever you shoot any scene. Sometimes the grass reflecting green or a tent bouncing its color on your actors' faces may have unwanted effects on your footage. What light should you buy? If you're just starting with filmmaking, don't buy any light at all. Use whatever you have and upgrade only after you understand what you're doing. Honestly, you can make a key light with any light bulb and a white t-shirt that will help soften the light on your subject's face. Similarly, you can use a lamp or even a flashlight as a backlight. Now that you know how to set up a 3-light setup correctly, you'll get much better results by applying the techniques discussed, using whatever light you've already got, rather than using professional lights without knowing what you're doing. There's no limit on how much you can spend on lighting. You can go from a few bucks to literally millions on a pro lighting setup. Here's the list of what I've got that gives me good results without making me go bankrupt. The Godox SL150, paired with this newer beauty box, is my go-to setup for all my indoor shooting and YouTube videos. I use this as my main key light. Then I have the Godox ML30 bicolor LED that I love because it's small and portable, as it can be powered by batteries, and it's bicolor, going from 2800 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. I use the ML30 as a key light when I'm shooting outdoors, or as a backlight. Another do-it-all light that I adore is the Aperture MC RGB WW, the best $100 I have ever spent. You can use this as a practical light, as a key light, a rim light, and it comes with cool effects with which you can be as creative as your imagination allows. One of the best features of this light is the amp that lets you match this guy's color with any color in your scene just by pointing your smartphone to the color source you want to replicate. Lastly, I have a bunch of these RGB LED panels from Nears or Newers that I mostly use to light up the background. My affiliate links to all these lights are in the description. 7 cinematic lighting tips for your short film. Let's wrap up this video with my 7 tips for cinematic lighting to make your audience wonder how you made your first short film so incredibly good. Ready? Shoot shadow side. Always shoot the shadow side to get the most dramatic and cinematic look. This means that if your key light points at the left side of your subject face, your camera should point to the right side, where the shadow is. From now on, notice how this rule is always applied to any series or film you watch. Depth. Create a 3-dimensional separation of your subject from the background. You can do this by placing the subject as far away from the background as possible and shooting at your lens's lower aperture to blur the background even more. Another way to create depth is using complementary colors. Light your background with a color that is complementary to your subject. Use the color wheel diagram that you'll find in the reference PDF in the description to achieve this result. You can create contrast by making the background darker or brighter than your subject. In this example, I shot my subject on a white background because she wore a black t-shirt. I would have opted for a darker background if she wore a brighter color. Lastly, like in this example, you can create contrast and separation using the checkerboard lighting effect. The background is dark where the face is bright, and it's bright where the face is dark. Motivate your light. All amateurs use unmotivated lighting. Look at this scene, for instance. It's a close-up of the actress while she's well lit on her face. If we wanted to give more context and shoot a wider shot, we would see that there is no reason for the subject to be lit, making the shot completely unnatural. If there isn't a natural reason for the light on your subject face, create one, using a prop light to motivate your key light. Light your background. If you forget to light the background, your image will be amateurish. Unless, of course, you're going for a deep dark look. Add prop lights to make your background interesting and natural. Ensure that the subject isn't the only thing you put light on because you forgot to light the background. Shooting outdoors. The best time to shoot is the golden hour, the first and last hour of light. Shooting when the sun is high will cast a lot of hard shadows on your subjects and give them raccoon eyes. Besides offering a more natural and compelling lighting scenario, you can exploit the opportunity that a sunset gives to achieve cinematic and emotional shots. Try to shoot your subject while looking at the sun to add magical flares to your shots and create enchanted silhouettes that will wow your audience. Catchlight or Eyelight. The catchlight is the sparkle in the subject eyes that is cast by the light source illuminating them, such as key light. It gives your subject life and soul. If your character is about to die or give up fighting, you can enhance those conditions by removing the catchlight from their eyes. Texture. Add texture to your shots by placing a little haze or fog in the environment. You can get one of these smoke machines for less than $50. With a bit of haze in your shots, the lights will gain a new life and the sun's rays will magically shine. It was a long video and I tried my best to condense all this information while keeping it entertaining and the concepts clear and comprehensive. As usual, don't forget to download the reference PDF of this episode. You'll find the link in the description. If you have any questions or suggestions, hit me up in the comments, and if you haven't, come to say hi anyways. I read all of my comments and it'd be lovely to connect with you. If you got any value out of this video, please let me know that by liking the video and maybe subscribing to the channel. It really motivates me to produce more content like this. Thank you for watching, I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.